Hello and welcome to Escaping Kasterborous, the podcast where we rewatch, reminisce and review everything Doctor Who from 2005 to present. My name is Rich and I'm joined by the person most likely to shag a cat. It's Amy.
I wouldn't shag a cat. That's rude.
I mean, I had
to be cherished.
Yes, but then you can make tiny baby kittens that can say mama.
No, because that is not how biology works, okay?
Well, that's going to be a big topic of this week's podcast, of how on earth Valerie squeezed out kittens from her
Foof.
Kitten factory.
Kitten factory.
Foof is
What
definitely
was
the
the
better
other
term.
option you had to call me?
I didn't. I just wanted to imply that you like doing cats.
Well, I don't. That's really. Please don't imply that.
Are you telling me you don't want to ride Brannigan's front tail?
Really not. Okay.
I hate the fact that I refer to it as a front tail.
That's disgusting.
I feel dirty.
Cats still have penises, Rich. Do you know biology?
Yeah, that's why I called it a front tail.
No, gross.
But it's a front tail, right?
No.
Right?
No.
It
okay.
is.
And moving on very swiftly.
No.
Hello, everybody.
Let's talk about Brannigan's pee-pee.
Let's really not. Okay, if we're going to talk about anyone's pee-pee, let's make it David's. But we're still not talking about David's pee-pee because we're not here to talk about David's pee-pee. We're here to talk about Gridlock.
Gridlocked in with the pee-pee.
Shut up. Okay, I'm doing this podcast by myself now.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Let's see if you can carry this by yourself, bitch.
Definitely can't. Lol. Although one week I would quite like to do the intro just totally unsuspectingly, or just everyone be like, hang the hell on, what's going on here?
And then that gives you the opportunity to slag me off.
Yeah.
I will not allow it. I am not to be slagged off. I am the mastermind in this.
Yeah, you are. It's not a lie.
Welcome back, folks. It's good to see you. Yeah, sup, fellow nerds, as I say.
Good to definitely not see anybody
Good to hear. Good to hear you. It's. Did you know, Amy? It is the 14th of April 2007 because we just watched Gridlock.
Is it? It's the. I'm pretty sure it's the 22nd of December 2021. But,
that's the point. If my calculations are correct, Merry Christmas Eve if you're listening to this on the day this releases.
Yeah, happy
which will be Friday.
holidays.
Yeah, I was going to save, mentioning Christmas and New Year for the sign-off, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's Christmas Eve. If you're listening to us on Christmas Eve, hi, happy Christmas Eve. If you're listening to us on Christmas Day, go hang out with your family. What are you doing listening to us?
Why are you listening to us on Christmas Day?
What a nerd. What a loser.
Although, fully appreciate the listen. So if you are listening on Christmas Day, thanks. Tweet us if you're listening on Christmas Day. Let us know.
At Kasterpod, are you listening on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? Would you ride Brannigan's dick? They're the main questions
Shut
we're going
up!
to be. Maybe it's not you that wants to shag a cat. Maybe it's me.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Maybe I just want to bang some Irish tail.
Please do not go around shagging anybody or anything, any animal, anything that does not accept you and gives you permission. Cats could not give you permission. That's all I'm saying. That's just a life lesson for anybody out there. If they do not consent, it is a no.
That was not the direction I was expecting the start of this podcast to go.
Anyway.
Let's talk about the big old rebound that is Martha. Because the Doctor, in all of his wisdom, showing off as he rightly acknowledges, he is taking her to New Earth. New York, New Earth, that we've been to once before at the beginning of last series in the episode aptly titled New Earth.
God, he's such a serial dater.
The thing is, we can sit here and talk about the Doctor and how he's not over Rose and stuff, till the cows come home. We're not going to do that because in the grand scheme of things, it's sort of a footnote in this episode. It was
not really.
far more present in the Shakespeare Code than it was in this, or at least it was more of a focal point. This episode, the focal point is the fact that no one likes being stuck in traffic. It's a very British thing to be stuck in traffic. We like queuing, we like getting stuck in traffic, and yet in New York, the only American voice we hear is Sally Calypso. Everyone else is British.
Sally is in the woman on the
as in
TV
the hologram.
Screens.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's the only American voice
point.
we hear. I'm pretty.
Never noticed that.
I'm gonna have to double check this. I'm pretty certain when the Doctor calls the police, even the hold message is British English.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you
Maybe?
for calling. You've been put on hold. It's like everyone's British, and I'm just like,
Well,
right,
maybe
okay.
New York isn't distinctly in America. Maybe.
well, I mean, it very clearly is because Statue of Liberty on the thing, and then
That's-
Sally Calypso's
Not the
American.
point. Not the point. Migration
mean,
is a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Shush.
So what we're saying is that they
Let's-
shut all the migrants on the motorway.
yeah.
Wow.
But they say, I mean, to save them, like, come on.
That is true. That is very true. So this episode was written by the man himself, Big Russ.
R2D.
And
Big Russ.
that's what he's called, Big Russ now.
Okay, bro.
And it's, he's doing the standard thing of taking something that we know and love or hate and making it it's obviously not motorways and traffic jams themselves are specifically scary, but taking them and putting them into a scenario where they can be scary. And obviously that is by reintroducing the macra, which obviously I'm not the strongest for knowledge of Classic Who, but I know that they were in, I think it was a second Doctor story, the Macra Terror.
Right.
And obviously the Doctor references the fact that, he knows the macra and who they are and what they do and how
the fact
they've
that
devolved. Yes.
Which I'm presuming at one point they were more people-like.
I know they were. I'm pretty certain they're all still crabs. It is a second
Crabs.
Doctor story, can confirm.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know huge amounts of them in the grand scheme of Doctor Who lore. All I knew is they lived at the bottom of the motorway and fed on the crap that spewed from these cars.
Their fumes.
But it's a nice way to do a little callback to Classic Who. It's like, when we first watched this back in 2007, no way in hell I'd have known that macra were a thing. Like already, not known it whatsoever. I was there asking my parents whether they remember a woman being stretched across a frame in Classic Who because I had no idea. Cassandra was an original concept, so
Well,
there is that.
were you too? I mean, how are you
Exactly.
supposed to know when you're like
the beauty of
11?
reintroducing an enemy that I guess not exactly the most memorable as far as I know. I don't want to make too many comments on the Macra Terror without actually having watched it. Not that I can because it doesn't exist.
No. But to be
dead.
fair,
But
bringing them I feel like bringing them back was probably Russell's way of thinking, right, what can I come up with that would be at the bottom of this? And he goes, oh, actually, hang on, there was a monster back in the day that was this, that, and the other, so I'll just bring them back for God knows how long. But he just kind of made them a bit more crab-like and a bit more monsterish to be, quote-unquote, the villain of the week.
yeah.
Which I sort of feel like they're not really the villain of the week. Like, they're just a byproduct of the eventuality, but you sort of wonder why they exist down there in the first place.
Well,
and why did they know that when they shut them all down there? Was that a thing?
I have no idea, and it's one of those things that it's not a question that needs answering in the grand scheme of the episode. It's not something people are going to question. Really, it's like it's like, you see, I guess to sort of compare it to the reality that we know, you see, like, I don't know, a poor fox or a badger getting smacked and it's just sitting on the side of the road. No, and it lives obviously around the road. No one really knows, or in the grand scheme of things cares. We don't need to know, so they don't need to say. Like,
It's true.
If the Doctor, for example, had turned around and said, "Oh, this is like," he'd theorized this concept of, "Oh, maybe they after I ran into them billions of years ago, they've obviously devolved and they've somehow ended up on this planet or whatever." I think
it's just kind of exposition that's not really necessary.
Again, it's pointless exposition.
Like,
so,
the story still works without it.
Exactly. So it's not something that needs to be actually touched upon in order for the rest of the story to make sense. They are there for the sake of being there, to be that potential threat of the terror of the fast lane, etc., etc., etc. So
what kind of sorry, just jumping a very different tangent here. I've just had a thought. I'm pretty sure that whoever wrote the script wasn't quite settled on how long it took to travel a mile, right? Because if you're in an infinite loop of traffic would just be constantly moving in like a shimmy, right? Because there's always going to be a gap that the traffic is moving into that constantly goes backwards, etc. So you would think it would move at a fairly constant rate, right? Yes, I'm picking holes, just bear with me here. The Brannigan said that they'd been on the motorway for 12 years, right?
Yeah.
And that they travelled... how far? Like 5 miles or something? In 12 years? Was that what he said?
Yeah. Something like that.
But she said, as in the woman in Martha's car, don't know her name, she said that they were going to travel 10 miles in 6 years. Now, is that because she was referencing the fact that that's how quickly they would go on the fast lane? Or is that before the fast lane? That would make sense if it was the fast lane, because that's double the distance travelled in half the time.
I guess.
Does that make sense? Am I talking rubbish here? Like,
I that's one of those things where that is very much a hole being picked. I think the what was put across in this episode is that the motorway is slow,
long,
and the Doctor puts it into perspective for people that probably either did know. I mean, obviously, when he says, no one's out there, there's no police, there's no this, there's no that, and he's like looking at Brannigan like, I know that you know this is the case. You're just refusing to acknowledge that. Same with the two women, the woman, the car spotter, when she was like, I can't note everything down. It's like, she's obviously aware that that's not the case. She's making that excuse that I missed it. It's like, you're a car spotter. You move 5 yards a day. You definitely didn't miss it, love.
Also, can we pay props to inclusion in this episode?
Yeah.
Lesbian old couple. Smashed it.
Obviously, we go on this tangent a lot. We're not going to go down it massively. But yeah, look, lesbian old couple, introduced as sisters, and then it's like, we're married. And because it's like, it's the future, people just accept that. It's like, that's just the way things are going to go if all things go to plan.
But also, I mean, dicks. To be fair, in this episode, you've literally got a woman who shagged a cat, so... Woman
shags a cat. We've got a... an old lesbian couple. I mean, nudists are nudists. We've got we've got an interracial couple.
Yeah.
So it's like... Look, here's loads of box. We've got an incredibly white bloke as well who sits on bubble wrap. Mm-hmm. So we all know someone who is very white and gets off to bubble wrap.
Do we really?
Yeah.
Okay. I dread to meet your friends.
I wasn't referencing a friend. Thankfully, my bubble wrap remains very well hidden in this house.
Oh, you were talking about yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that joke was totally lost on me. Ha. Anyway.
It's because you're rubbish at this. But yeah, we had that very commonplace staple representation without it being, carved into the side of a baseball bat and being whacked across the face with it.
I was going to say, actually,
people scream
in terms of this episode, that was actually probably my favourite bit of the whole episode, is when David goes down through every single car and it's like, oh, hey, there's this people, hey, there's this people,
and that's something I was definitely going to mention, because obviously this has a lot of CGI in it, and the CGI is not bad. It's probably one of those episodes again that got a lot of money spent on the CGI, like how series 1 had so much spent on End of the World. With all the shots of Platform 1, like that was where all the budget went for the CGI. Gridlock would kind of be the same thing, but it's so clever in the way that the vast majority of this episode takes place in the same set.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how the entirety of Midnight, which we get to next series, which I'm really excited to see again, it is low-key
so good.
Top 5 New Who, end of story. That takes place in one space.
Yeah.
Gridlock almost feels like the precursor to it in some regard, because of this idea that they're going to work with so little. It's the budget episode. It is the budget episode of this series.
Kind of makes you picture how they filmed it, which they probably just got it dressed up for one set, got all the actors in to film all the scenes necessary for that set, and then sent them on their way, then redressed the set, then got them to do another one. Or they just had like 4 of these things next to each other.
Nah, they'd have used the same set. I bet if you went through and you watched it and you looked frame by frame to see if there's any major consistencies between the sets. Obviously, they're basically entirely redressed, but because obviously they're all driving the same car, there's no point in making 4 or 5 different sets. But it's intriguing. It's intriguing to know as to whether they had like whenever they're communicating between them, they have the same actors on set at least. So, like for example, when Brannigan's talking to the sisters, that the sisters were behind the camera and delivering their lines or whatever. That's maybe to look at the Doctor Who Confidential for. I don't think I've ever watched the Doctor Who Confidential
them together. Like, if
that's
you
what I mean. But I mean,
just one thing
in a production sense, having the actors there, also it's easier to bounce off the actor that you're acting
obviously
acting opposite, rather than just having some random bloke behind the camera read off the lines for you.
Probably
whatever. That's something to look at in the Confidential.
I just picture them in the meetings having so much fun deciding how they were going to decorate each car. Like, oh, how about we do this one as a nudist colony? How about we do this one as a Chinese like couple, or Japanese or Asian or whatever, whatever origin they were. Just being sort of like, oh, should we do this? Should we do this? How about one white guy that's covered in bubble wrap? How about kittens? How about this? How about that? Like, it's so much fun. Like,
I want to know. I want to know the story about the fully black cat thing.
Yeah, with
the two girls on the fast lane. I'm like, what's going on here?
I mean, maybe they were a throuple.
Are you broadcasting from your vehicle? If you catch my drift, is that what's going on here?
How about no?
I mean,
I don't. No.
This is the bestiality episode of Doctor Who. So
we're not going down that episode. We're not. No, just no. We are going to swiftly diverge because I feel like this episode has just been great from start to finish so far.
I mean, it has. Because I unashamedly really enjoy Gridlock. I mean, I say unashamedly. Yeah. There's almost nothing to be ashamed of. Coming back to New Earth, because this is basically a trilogy. Mm-hmm. You've got End of the World, because obviously that triggers. That was the sort of contextualization of people moving off world to a different planet. They found this other planet. The Macra might have already been there for all we know.
Yeah,
when
who knows?
Humanity moved in. We have obviously New Earth with Cassandra in the hospital, and then we obviously have Gridlock to wrap up this trilogy.
Yes.
And it's cool seeing a different part of that city, of that world. Because there's no reused locations apart from the little bit of reused footage when the Doctor's like, oh, this is how it used to look, and it's like, oh look, here's an exact shot from New Earth that's going to be just broadcast on a screen. But how they explore it a bit more.
Yeah. I mean,
with the market stand selling moods.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because the thing about this episode is, I feel like, weirdly, there's not tons to talk about because of the fact that, again, as a kind of common theme with Russell, not a lot happens, but in a way, that's great because it makes for a much more well laid out structure, much more well laid out pacing, and it means that you can actually focus on like what's going on and the story and stuff without having too much being thrown at you. And I feel like this one would be quite a good episode, or sorry, should I say? I feel like this one has been quite a good episode for Russell to explore a little bit more about Martha's character and the Doctor's character when they're like apart, because we've not really seen much of the Doctor on his own up to this point, and his kind of realizations of, oh, I was showing off, like, don't even really know the girl and all that kind of stuff, makes it a bit more sort of like, hang on, yeah, actually she's only been here for 3 episodes so far. Is this the 3rd episode with Martha in?
Yes.
So the fact that she's down there going, I don't even know who he is really, but I'm just assuming he's going to save the day, is kind of like, yeah, maybe that's a problem. But also,
I mean,
we
they-
didn't question it with Rose, so...
Well, that's the thing. Funnily enough, in part 1 of this trilogy of episodes, in The End of the World, when Rose is sat in that room and chatting to that twig,
Yeah.
she does talk about how she's got no idea who he is, and she just waltzes off with him. So it's like, it does almost perfectly mirror the events of, well, I say perfectly, it mirrors the events of, or mirrors the companions' mindsets and train of thought for Rose in End of the World, as it does now with Gridlock and Martha.
But I think it's... Sorry,
no, after you.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting to see my brain's not working apparently. The difference between, like you said, it kind of mirrors Rose's reaction in the New Earth, New End of the World. That's the one I'm talking about, End of the World. Because you see the difference in, like, when he brought Rose to New Earth as David for, like, the first time, and when he brings Martha, it's kind of like, did he purposely bring them to very different places because of the fact that he's not really thinking about what Martha's investment is versus what Rose's investment is? Like, she got the glitz and the glamour and everything is beautiful and fancy, whereas Martha, like she said, gets the slums. And I know that he was like, yeah, the slums are where all the exciting stuff happens. But I think it's an interesting way to kind of look at the difference in their relationships between how he feels about Rose and how he currently feels about Martha, which is literally just, she's somebody to talk to at this point, isn't she, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure whether that would have been a conscious... That's a good point. That's a very good point. But I don't think that would have necessarily been a conscious decision. I think that might have been...
No.
I think it might have been, when he says about how the slums are more interesting, I think that was genuinely something on the Doctor's curious side. But coming back to New Earth, I mean, the fact that he drops it into conversation about how he brought Rose in before, and it's like, that's just the Doctor being the Doctor and showing off and, letting his words go and not realising what he's saying, which he's obviously done a couple of times already. But also, with New Earth, as far as he was aware, it was a safe place to come and explore and see stuff, because why not?
He's already
it would be quite nice, I think, in a Who episode, and I think we're going to get this a little bit more come the next two-parter we've got, where the Doctor and their companion ends up somewhere, and they do a lot of exploring. And just like going and sightseeing, like genuinely, because normally the action that at least ties them in kicks in pretty soon, and obviously with this it is like immediate. Well, I say immediate. They have obviously the scene where
immediate.
They get shown about the patches get introduced, which is obviously the reason why society died out, etc., etc. Like fair enough. And then the kidnapping comes not too far in, but like, why not have an episode where the Doctor and companion can go off and just do stuff, and the threat is building in the sort of the B plot being explored as these events go on. Now I'm saying it out loud, I feel like there are episodes like that.
Oh yeah, there probably are. Like Midnight is a good example.
The threat doesn't reach the protagonists like immediately. It actually comes quite later on, and just seeing them out and about and doing stuff that would be quite cool, because they more than likely, I think there's probably people listening to this going, Rich, this episode, obviously this one, and I'm just like, nah, I can't think of it. If you're
screaming it at us, we apologise.
At Kasterpod.
Yeah, tweet us and let us know. I mean, to be fair, they were doing that in Boomtown. They were just out and about enjoying
that is a very, very good point. Boomtown's quite a good one.
They were in Midnight. They were literally just going to a fancy spa, and then he goes off on a jolly.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of one of those things where you don't really get that much, because I guess the whole point of Doctor Who is that there's action and adventure and stuff like that, because an episode with just them exploring would be a little bit cringe, kind of teenage montage of let's go here, we've got to take photos.
Martha dragging the Doctor shopping down New York High Street.
Sorry, I need a new leather jacket and new heels. Like, do you know how long I've been wearing this for?
Oh yeah, she would have been, won't she? Because she's wearing the same costume, isn't she? Oh goodness me.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure that she doesn't go home for a good few episodes yet.
No, she doesn't. She will be going back home I think maybe just after the next two parts as she goes home for the Lazarus experiment.
That's what I thought.
So it's
So
obviously
for like
it is coming.
5 episodes, she wears the same clothes. Can you imagine how bad those pants would be? Ew.
I'm trying to think whether she's in the same clothes in Daleks in Manhattan.
Rusty AF.
Now who's being gross?
Just saying.
Yeah, it's true.
Change your
It's
pants,
more
kids.
Front seats, back seats, inside out, front seats, inside out, back seats. We've all seen Big Hero 6, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember the terminology and how it's said properly, but yeah, you get the idea. Speaking of people who aren't wearing the same clothes since the last time we saw them, Novice Haim is back in this.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because as much as it's only been a series, I remember when she was, because she's introduced obviously quite early on. I kind of wish they didn't introduce Face of Bow right at the beginning. I think that'd have been more interesting if Novice Haim was chasing the Doctor down, and to the audience it felt like it was just, this bitch is back, and then surprise, the Face of Bow's back. Like, that would have been, I guess, would have been a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Because then it would have almost been obvious to be, there's not that potential like segue to take the Doctor out of the motorway, because that's already planted straight away. Maybe that could have been left a little bit longer and just played up to the fact that Novice Haim is like, he's back.
Yeah,
I know he's back. Click, click, down to the motorway with my gun. But so I remember when Novice Haim rocks up inside that car, she's wearing silver ballet shoes, which I always find really funny. And the Doctor immediately goes in for a hug.
Sort of. At first.
Well, he does, because he goes, Novice Haim.
No,
and he goes in for
because
the
at
hug.
first he questions who she is, doesn't he? He says, who
Yeah,
are you?
yeah,
And
yeah,
she
yeah.
goes, oh, I've thingied over thousands of years, or I've aged and you haven't aged today, and then he realises.
Yeah, and then he realises, but he goes in for that hug because it's just like, oh, it's somebody he recognises amidst a sea of people he has no idea who they are, and this whole different, side to the city that he's seeing. And then he does the whole, hang on, no, wait a minute, you were a bad
He's like,
guy.
get off me, don't touch me,
Yeah.
you tried to kill me.
And I forgot when I remember seeing this again, and not obviously this time, but it may have been when it first aired, but I remember seeing that thing and thinking, oh yeah, that is somebody we know. And then we're reminded of, oh no, wait, we're not meant to like you. And I thought that was quite fun. It would have just been more interesting, because you asked whether that was Martha's mum, because Martha's mum in New Earth played one of the cats, but she is killed on the way. It's either on the ladder.
Oh yeah, I think I remember now.
It's as they're escaping from the whole, the big chambery, silo, I guess.
I think it is, because I think they escape out the doors and she gets touched when she's right.
Yeah, it's something like that. But that's also not the only person to this, admittedly, at this point, return, because Valerie, Brannigan's wife, who was quite literally having kittens only 2 months ago, she returned in series 10 as Bill Potts' foster mother.
Ah, okay.
So she's in 2 episodes of that, because I remember that's just something that stuck with me, and I don't remember whether in series 10 that I recognized her and sought that out. I'm assuming because I managed to see that link back to Gridlock. I'm assuming that when I saw her, I was like, I know you from somewhere, and it turns out she'd been in Doctor Who before, shagging cats. But yeah, she's back in this as well, which is interesting. And of course, the Face of Bow is here as well, delivering his final secret.
Not alone.
And obviously, we will get to that once we get to it. But
I love how long they lingered on his face, on the Doctor's face after that. Like, I genuinely felt like that shot of his, like, literally from his bottom lip to his, like, forehead, of him just, like, staring Face of Bow down, like, what do you mean I'm not alone? I genuinely thought that, like, shot was never going to end. Because he was just sat there like...
I wonder what it must have been like acting opposite the Face of Bow, because... obviously, it is a physical prop.
Yeah.
It always has been. And I think that's incredible, because it looks and it's puppeted very, very well.
I want
for
to
something
know how he
that's-
just became a face.
Again, probably not something that will be answered, and
No. No,
whatever.
I just find it interesting. It's like, somebody lop off your body, mate. Were you always that big?
Yeah. We always just a big old head in a jar.
Evolution.
Yeah. But like there's one particular point. I think it's when the doctor's trying to reopen the motorway and he drops that big lever and he goes, no. And then the face of Bo goes, I will give you my last. And the way that his eyes, when he closes his eyes, and you can see how somehow with this big old face that's got eye movement and mouth movement, and that's it, how they've managed to really make it look like he is genuinely
Squeezing.
like pushing, like his eye, you can see his eyelids like
He's about to
vibrating
burst
because
a blood
he
vessel.
is about to either burst a blood vessel or rip the fattest fart you've ever heard. That's
The
the point,
liquid
right?
in that tank would bubble.
Oh my god, he's in it. He's been contained in Sprite this entire time. That's another question for you guys at Kasterpod. To add to the already horrendous vat of questions we're giving you from this
Maybe
episode
don't
of the
answer a
podcast.
few of them though. Like,
Does the face of Bo have a butt on the back of his head?
really, that's what you're
Yes.
asking?
That is what I'm asking.
Well, that's why I want to know if somebody lopped off his body, because if he's just a neck, then like neck up, then he's obviously not got a butt. But if evolution has
What
just
if
slowly condensed him down into a giant head and the butt just forms up his back, maybe
I don't
his
know
whole
whether
back is
I don't know
just a
whether you've
giant
seen
butt.
it. Have you seen the meme of Keanu Reeves stood on the stage at E3 when he introduced Cyberpunk, and then somebody's like squashed a version next to him? It's like the evolutionary chart. It's like tall Keanu Reeves, squashed Keanu Reeves, head with a butt.
I don't think so.
Right, I'm gonna have to find this for you. I'm
Okay,
sure
great.
that there are big old meme lords that have.
Personally, I would say he probably does not have a butt.
I think
Because
I
he's
think he has
covered
a
in
butt.
tubes, so therefore his waist just goes out the tubes. That would be my guess. But I can just imagine him being like a round circle. What is that? For context, Rich has just sent me the photo.
That is the evolutionary chart of tall person to weird squashed person to head with a butt, that then just procedurally grows to giant head with butt.
Okay.
That is the evolution of the bow kind in Doctor Who.
Fantastic. So what we're going with is that he's got a butt?
Yes.
Okay.
If this is your first episode of Escaping Kasterborous, I apologise.
Welcome.
Because
That means you've
that's
not
the
heard
direct-
lunch, dinner, egg.
That's the direction things are going on this podcast, and I've had nobody complaining about
We're
the
talking
fact
about
that we
shagging
talk
cats in the face of Bo's arse.
We
Like,
talk so much rubbish, but I think you guys seem to enjoy it, and I will one day make a lunch dinner egg t-shirt. I had an idea about it not too long ago, so I might actually
Amazing.
do it.
Amazing.
Lunch dinner egg shirts, and if you buy them, we will donate the profits to charity.
Yeah, that's
We should pick a charity. I think we should do that. Would you do
Maybe we should give it to Cats Protection or something like that, because we're talking about shagging cats in this episode. We're giving you the
Protection
money to
or-
not shag cats.
that? Or don't shag cats, adopt them. Or since we're talking the Russell era and how much we love all the representation and stuff, we should donate to the Trevor Project.
Yes, I like that idea.
Maybe we should do that. Let me know on Twitter at Kasterpod. Do you want a
How
lunch
do we
dinner
go
egg
about
t-shirt?
getting all the proceeds to charity?
Well, I use Teespring to
Ah.
sell merch from Twitch.
see.
And that will tell me how much it is specifically from that t-shirt. Or how much profit I would have made from that product specifically. So if I put a listing up for that t-shirt, then I can see exactly how much I would how much I would have to donate
Yeah.
to the Trevor Project in lieu of that revenue coming in.
Uh-huh.
And I obviously wouldn't make them horrifically priced either, because
No.
obviously, you know, you look at like merch stores and people charge like Christ knows how much for stuff.
Yeah.
I want to say that I think I rounded mine up to like the nearest sort of like solid integer, and I think it was like
Yeah.
20 quid,
Fair dues. For
which
anybody,
is obviously for a t-shirt is a bit. It might sound a bit steep, but it's done
if
through one of
it's-
these like
Yeah.
stores where you don't have to pay to get stuff made. Then
they
that's
have to cover their costs somewhere.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
But also, if it's all going to charity, then, you know, best if you want to buy it. If you do, you do. Great. If not, that's fine too. For anybody who watches Markiplier out there, his stuff is so expensive.
Yeah, we've been watching his Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach series, and obviously he plugs at the end of every episode his cloak line that he does
Cloak
with other
brand.
YouTubers, and I'm like, yeah, that
Yeah,
stuff's gonna
no.
be extortionate.
It's in pounds. It was £28.70 or something like that for a t-shirt. I was like, "Are you joking me? Are you joking me?" Sorry, that was very high pitched. Apologies if you.
That
were
was
in
very high
headphones.
pitched.
But yeah. So we won't do that because nobody should be spending £28 on a t-shirt unless you are minted beyond belief, or unless you are purely into slow fashion, which I commend you. But back to the matter in hand. back to the topic.
I know that we talked about this a lot when we first started, because obviously this was a lunch, dinner, egg, in case you didn't know, came from our episode on Boomtown. About the process. The process of the episode was, Doctor and Kai have lunch, find Blomfeld-Foch, go have dinner, then she's an egg. Lunch, dinner, egg, and it just
Lunch,
became a
dinner,
thing.
egg.
And people keep mentioning it on Twitter. So I'm like, you know what? If you want a t-shirt, I'll make a t-shirt.
To be
and
fair,
we'll do it for charity or something.
I feel like you
that'd be
could
nice.
summarize this episode in a very, very similar way. Like if
Shag
we were going
cat.
for
No.
don't
I think
shag cats,
Shag
not
cat head.
shag cats. Did you just say shag cat head?
Yeah, I realise how bad that sounds.
Yeah, don't do that. No, I would say, how would I summarize this episode in 3 words?
Forget car.
Kidnapping.
Wow.
Well, it's true though, isn't it? Okay, maybe motorway, virus, bow. It's pretty much what
Not
it is,
as
isn't
funny
it?
as lunch, dinner, egg.
Not as
then,
funny
is
as
it?
lunch, dinner, egg, bar, or shag cat head, which we're also not going to do.
I'll put lunch, dinner, egg on a t-shirt, but not shag cat head,
We're definitely
Unless
not
we-
having
unless
shag
we-
cat head on a t-shirt.
unless we donate proceeds to that to Cats Protection. It's like,
Not going to
thank
happen.
you so much for selling your merch. What did you put on it? Nothing.
Nothing.
Just
Save
accept
the cats
donation.
is what we put on it.
Save the cats and don't question where we got the money.
Yeah.
Good grief. Good golly, Miss Molly.
Anyway, this is the thing I feel like with this episode, we've kind of covered
We've
it.
segued a lot, haven't we? There's
But
it's like,
what
yeah,
else
you're
can you
right.
say?
A lot kind of goes on, but the plot is quite straightforward, and it's that, as we always mention, that the beauty and the simplicity of some of these stories. You think of some, again, I will compare it to Midnight, which I did have to double check was written by Russell. That's not a Moffat episode. That is a
Good.
Russell episode. And I feel like there is a bit more of a link between these two, because he probably looked at the production of this and thought, it's amazing what kind of stories we could tell with so little. Mm-hmm. We have these stories that go, I've mentioned the pilot, and obviously a lot of it was probably shot on like green screens and stuff, but the Doctor and Bill go everywhere in the pilot.
Yeah.
All over. They go back to the Dalek-Mavellan War, for Christ's sake. Like, there's so much going on. And yet, here's Gridlock that's got a couple of shots that are done in some alley in Cardiff, inevitably, to represent the Undercity. You've got wherever the location was for the Supreme Council, whatever it is he calls it. And then you've got the set for all the cars.
And that's
And
it.
that's it. Like, it's so simple. And then
I
with
mean-
something like Midnight, you've got
Literally.
one set that was all very much literally would have been Catherine Tate in a sun lounger on a green screen.
On a green screen.
And then the rover. And that was
And that's
it.
it, basically.
So he's gone, if I can tell a story that was, Gridlock's not one of the episodes you would really write home about,
No.
necessarily.
It
But it
serves
is very
a
good. It
purpose.
feels, because of the benefit of it being in a location that we've been to before, the world already feels realized, and they're just like, let's do more with the characters, let's explore more people. Because if you, arguably in New Earth, you don't get that. You get the Doctor, Rose, Cassandra, and then Novice Haim, and whoever the other one is. And, I say that you get, the Duke of Manhattan and people like that, but you don't get to explore more about them.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. Whereas with this, it feels like, you're with the normal people. Mm-hmm. And their struggle with, having to drive somewhere.
I mean, I think it does it, like I said, it serves a purpose. It's kind of a filler episode, but it obviously also has those tidbits at the end that you don't really expect from a filler episode, that Russell is very good at throwing things in that you obviously don't realise they're a thing until you retroactively have watched the rest of the series, which at the time, obviously, we couldn't watch the rest of the series because it had only just come out. And I quite liked the way that Martha was like, oh, does he mean you've got me? And the Doctor was like, nah, I don't think so, actually.
Yeah, I think we'll just stand by the fact that Martha is that friend that you know that just immediately falls in love with somebody. That is who Martha is. But actually, that has just reminded me of something I was like mentally trying to take a note of when we were watching.
Yes.
This almost feels like a precursor to the Year of Martha Jones.
Yeah.
Because she is in the car telling his kidnappers, of who the Doctor is, and that motivational speech, and that is like the first little step of who she becomes.
Yeah.
And whether that was, I mean, I say whether that was a conscious thing, it more than likely was a conscious thing, but it's not necessarily something that get references that is sort of overtly referenced back. It's probably I've only picked that up now, watching it and thinking, hang on, this is literally your entire point.
Yeah, basically. You are.
So you're getting your practice in, basically. You've just got to deliver that hope that something's going to work and the Doctor's going to fix everything. And Matey's all like, nah, we're fucked.
Yeah.
That's it. We're completely screwed. So, but that's the other thing to take from this. And then, as you say, yeah, we get the little bit of You Are Not Alone from The Face of Beau, which I love how in reality, how on the nose that is. But you don't realise that until we get to it. And I remember thinking, do you know what? Russell gets away with some pretty weak foreshadowing in the next series.
But you know what, though? I think the foreshadowing, like what he said, I think was probably the best way to put it, because it's when you get to that episode that calls back to this one and you're like, oh, that's what it meant. It's like mind blown for people who were our age at the time. And I love how casually the Doctor's just like, I don't think that's what it meant. He's probably just chatting rubbish. Like, I'm the last of the Time Lords, just carry on and deal with it. And
it's the fact that he doesn't even play that with this essence of, maybe he is right and I'm just saying that he's not right. I think the Doctor is fully committed to the idea that there is no one else.
He probably thinks that the Face of Beau just went a bit crazy in his old age, let's be honest.
Potentially,
He is billions of years old.
But I do appreciate how Martha just goes, right, you're going to talk to me now, because she's had this time away from him now and gone, what the hell am I doing here? I feel like I need a bit, if I'm going to potentially continue on with you. I'm intrigued as to whether in the next episodes that we're going to get that reasoning as to why they carried on together.
Yeah, because you don't really get that.
Need
they
to
just
double
kind
check
of
that.
Sat talking. I mean, maybe it's just an unexplained kind of like, we sat, we had a chat, we hashed it out, and I decided, maybe he's not so bad after all.
Or maybe and also whether, because the Doctor does overtly mention the Daleks, whether Martha's like, oh, these guys, whether they reference the fact that Martha's already been told. I mean, he probably didn't go into masses of detail, because obviously when we leave them and the camera moves up to show the sunset over the city, the Doctor's talking about how the trees looked in the mornings, not so much about who the Daleks were, but whether they acknowledge the fact that Martha's already been told.
I think
about
at
the
one
Daleks.
point he must go, these are the Daleks, and she goes, these are the Daleks, or like some kind of line like
I would
that,
like to think
maybe.
that. And to be honest, most of the time that we've been watching Russell's era, and I think, maybe they referenced this, and they have. I'm like, okay. Maybe it's something to keep in mind.
Deep in
I don't
our
know.
memory somewhere that we've watched it so many times
that's the
that we
thing.
know it's
It
a
has
thing,
been
but can't remember.
Obviously, between us, we've watched through Doctor Who, God knows how many times. But as I always say, going back and being a bit more analytical and going off on stupid tangents, it's just what we do.
Talking of Daleks
seeing new things is exciting.
Yeah. Talking of Daleks and stuff, I said to you, didn't I, that when we were watching the trailer for the next episode that I really wish they hadn't revealed it was the Daleks in the trailer, because I kind of feel like if they'd have just introduced it as being under the city in New York with the pigmen and the talents, the girl on stage doing the show and stuff like that, it would have been so much more exciting to get those tiny, tiny snippets of the Daleks, like you do when the elevator doors open, you see that circular, like ident graphic on the front of the lift doors.
That motif, yeah.
And you get a very, very small sliver of like a Dalek shell, but it's so quick you don't even notice it. And then they just full on go and be like, oh yeah, here's a Dalek. It's like, why'd you do that?
As we say,
at this point, you've got us all hooked. Like, just make it intriguing.
We've always got to mention that obviously there'll be people who will just need to have that push to stay interested.
But then at the same time, it's like, I'm already interested. You've got, like, it's pigmen. Like,
but this isn't always this isn't always there to cater to the super fans. It's there to cater to those who are like, oh, okay, Doctor Who, and then go, oh, Daleks.
However,
I am very much the same. I'm like, oh, Daleks.
I think it would have been much more exciting and intriguing for the reveal to be, oh, they're Daleks. Oh my god, this whole episode wasn't about the pigmen. Like,
well, it was like in the build up to Resolution, when everyone was like, oh my god, is this going to be where Chibnall introduces his Daleks? And it was all really, really like, it was all cryptic. And I can't remember whether there was already a trailer.
I don't know.
I think there was a teaser for Resolution that included nothing to do with Daleks, obviously because the Dalek that was revealed was completely original for that episode and didn't get teased before. And I remember right at the end of the people were already speculating about it being a Dalek episode, and then right at the end of the second trailer they did for it, they played that same Exterminate from Nicholas Briggs they've been using since 2005 in it, like every single bit. You wanted to download the sound effects off the BBC, off the Doctor Who website that you played through Real Player back in 2006, like I used to do. It's that Exterminate voice line.
To be fair, why shouldn't it be? Because I mean, Nicholas Briggs is fantastic as the
Daleks, I mean, funnily enough, I mean, we'll get to Resolution eventually, but Nicholas Briggs, it felt like a reawakening for Nicholas Briggs's performance as the Dalek, because when it came to the whole duologue scenes between him and Lynn, I thought it was somebody else, not Nicholas Briggs. I thought they'd recast him, which I was immediately annoyed about because Nicholas Briggs does such a good job.
And then wonderful to realise it was him.
It was really cool to realise it was him. But yeah, that's for next time. For now, let's have a look at a couple of questions that you guys sent us over on Twitter at Kasterpod, in case you didn't know.
If you are still listening, because Lord behold, you've made it through some rubbish up to this point.
Yeah, well done. Well done. We appreciate it if you have got to this point.
Oh my God, we should do that thing, right? You know, so I was listening to a podcast the other day where he said, if you've made it to this point in the episode, tweet us with the word blank. And for like months he was just getting tweeted with the word orange, I think it was, and he was man, why did I say this, why?
Well, the thing is, I get that to some extent, but I'm also there thinking it just reminds me of when, you know, you're watching some crappy meme YouTube channel, one of the ones that aren't very good, and it goes like, if you see this comment spatula, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's just real cringe, let's not do that. Anyway, Richard on Twitter asks whether the communal sing-along part of the episode is certainly a what the F moment. Does the scene have more resonance in our present time as it shows a sense of community and togetherness, something people are rediscovering now?
I mean, when you're watching it, I kind of feel like it does feel a bit left field. Like it just comes out of nowhere.
It does.
And all of a sudden they're like, oh, look, it's time to sing. Like, what? This is just something you do casually every God knows however many days or months
it's
or
daily,
whatever.
By the sounds of it, it's daily.
Daily?
Yeah.
What? No.
Because Sally Calypso says it. She's like, now it's time for the daily sing-along or whatever it is she says, and they start singing.
No, I'm all right, thank you. Can you imagine doing that every day?
No,
maybe monthly. Not daily.
I think maybe I get it. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a WTF moment, and I also wouldn't say that it feels more prevalent now post-COVID. Yay, Omicron. I think that scene might have worked a bit better if, as much as it would have made for a bit more of a not so nice episode, but a bit more bleak, is if basically everyone we've been introduced to thus far had been just that little bit more, I guess, depresso. Something like that sense of togetherness would have kicked so much harder if everyone just felt so... I'm trying to think of the word.
Downbeat.
Just... yeah, not that. It's like downbeat, exhausted.
I know what you
not
mean.
Not the right terminology.
Because everyone's just kind of... They definitely play this episode for laughs a lot of the time, because that's the whole reason why you have the different cars with the different people that he comes across.
It's satire on traffic.
Yeah, it's
full on satire with a very bleak setting.
It does kind of make it seem a little bit more odd that they ran. But then, to be fair, I think the reason he set up the singing was just so that right at the end he could have that beautiful kind of choir over the top of the Doctor explaining where he used to live. But then I feel like maybe you could have just done the same thing without the singing scene in the middle, and Martha could have just gone, it's the city, they're singing, and that would have been fine. We really kind of didn't need the context of they've sang this every day for 23 years because that's how long they've been on the motorway. Because almost, if I'd been trapped on a motorway for 23 years, moving barely an inch every day, and you'd made me sing the same song every day for 23 years, when I get to the surface, I ain't singing nothing. I am keeping stum, because you do not want to be reminded of those 23 years that you spent trapped in a tiny box.
That is very true. I tell you what, I remember when I first watched this that it used to annoy me, because when Martha stood there crying and she's sort of going and she's moving her mouth, I thought she was trying to sing along.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm like, bitch, shut up. This isn't your song.
You don't know the lyrics.
This has nothing to do with you.
Stop.
Apparently, it is a real hymn. That has come up. It is a real hymn.
Right.
But yeah. I always just think this is not for you, Martha. Clara would be the one trying to sing along to it. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that. Jay has asked what our opinions are, on classic Who villains coming back into modern Who. Should they appear in larger prominent roles, or should they only come back as minor roles like the Macra in Gridlock?
I think
when it comes to what I was going to say was it obviously it depends on the source material, not source material. It depends on the material that they're being brought back in. Because for something like Gridlock, I think if they try, the beauty of dumbing down the character, because I mean, arguably that's what they did. They became beasts, and they dumbed them down, and they served a purpose in Gridlock to be the more tangible bad, rather than just that concept of them being trapped on the motorway because of a virus.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a threat down there, it'd have been like, oh, that's okay, that's interesting, but it's not very exciting as a concept. So adding the Macra in, fair enough. But obviously, there are characters that have been brought back. Obviously, the big ones, you'd argue, would be obviously Daleks, obviously Cybermen. Zygons were brought back really well. Yeah. I never had massive hopes for Zygons, but lo and behold, Sontarans, obviously, in the most recent series, Chibnall nailed them. So that's really
not
good.
A sentence you hear every day.
No, you don't. But then there are other aliens that have been brought back that got so much sort of fanfare that didn't go that far. And reading this question from Jay just made me think of the Ice Warriors.
Yeah,
we hadn't seen them since the second Doctor.
Ruined.
I don't know. It wasn't Moffat. It was Mark Gatiss.
Oh, was it?
If I remember rightly.
That Mark Gatiss just ruined.
I think he loved the Ice Warriors, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it was Mark Gatiss. Yeah,
you would think
he loved the Ice Warriors.
Much, you wouldn't.
Oh, sorry. It was third Doctor, not second Doctor. They were last seen.
Okay, wow.
And Cold War was it was rubbish.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it's series 7.
So rubbish. So I can't barely remember it.
I can't really be surprised it's series 7.
No,
but they weren't good. And then they did Empress of Mars, where the Victorian British Army ended up on Mars with
I'm sure
more Ice
you
Warriors.
Tell me about this episode a lot.
That was series 10. That was the Doctor and Bill.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why, because Capaldi's era for me basically just doesn't exist. It's going to be really interesting when we finally get to his series.
That's such a shame, because he's he's the third best Doctor.
I think
of
genuinely,
the new era.
I only really remember one or two scenes from Capaldi's era, and one of them is him playing the guitar in the middle of a stadium.
God, yeah, that's Magician's Apprentice.
Yeah, that's kind of
when he's
awkward,
riding a tank.
Yeah, I don't know much about Capaldi's era. I remember Hellbent, Heaven Sent, or whichever way round it goes.
Heaven Sent is first. I used to get that wrong all the time. Heaven
because
Sent
that's
is a fantastic bit of telly.
an incredible episode from start to finish.
No, Heaven Sent. Yeah, Heaven Sent.
Yeah, it's Heaven Sent first, because I always think it sounds better saying Hellbent, Heaven Sent, but it's actually Heaven Sent, Hellbent, I think, is the way around it goes.
I'm going to have to check
because
this.
we always get this wrong, and I'm sure we were talking about this in a podcast once, and we said that one of them was great and one of them was bad, and people were like,
Heaven
did
Sent
he mean
is the
that?
good one.
Yes.
Hellbent is the crap one.
Because they were like, did he mean that? And I had to comment and be like, no, we meant it the other way round. We're just really bad at remembering. But that's basically all I remember of Capaldi. So, apologies. I am looking forward to rewatching it. But I don't know. I think in terms of bringing villains back, it really depends what kind of justice you do them, because it's always good to see something that has been established in the lore already. I mean, if it weren't for bringing villains back, we wouldn't have the Cybermen and the Daleks be such prominent villains. And, you know, things like that really make Doctor Who, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, you can't have Doctor Who without the Daleks and without the Cybermen, really.
Yeah. You can't have Doctor Who without looking back at what came before, because there's so much lore to go through. And, you know, it would suck if someone decided to try and change it. Anyway. So, no, I think it's probably usually a good thing. It really just depends on the context, and it really depends on the justice service you give the character when writing the script. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be my answer.
Tom Baker on Twitter, not that one, basically asked a similar thing about whether we'd like the Macra to return again. And feel like a bigger threat.
I mean, I kind of didn't know enough about them in the first place to care, and I still don't.
I think with them being dumbed down and reserved to being this sort of, you know,
omnipresent, just snappy thing,
bottom tier villain in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Not a bad villain, but just not. It's not a villain that was explored enough for us to really have an opinion on whether they were good or bad, because they were there to serve the purpose. They were mindless beasts, as the Doctor says.
Yeah, they're just there to eat.
And that worked as they were.
Aren't they, really?
As for whether the Macra should come back, probably not. Again, it's like I don't think if you ask people who know classic Who back to front as to whether they would want a specific enemy to come back, that they would say, "Oh, I know what, the Macra."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's be honest. It's going to be like the Rani or somebody instead, isn't it?
Yeah, people were at the Rani, the Valyard. I don't know, the Candyman, maybe.
It's not going to be the.
It's not going to be the
Macra.
Candyman. That's
what?
just As literally, there's an enemy from the 7th Doctor era that's literally made out of licorice.
What, like Bertie Bassett?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was how things went in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah,
it was,
I'm really, really glad
it was interesting.
Russell is taking back over the show, because otherwise you could definitely see it going the same way.
I'm going to try and make the Candyman work. No, Chris, don't.
Yeah,
Edward.
The third special of next year is he brings the Candyman back, and we're all like, well, time to be cancelled.
What caused the 13th Doctor to regenerate the Candyman? Edward on Twitter asked, it's saying about how 10 taking Martha somewhere went with Rose. Ouch. Have we ever taken each other somewhere we went with an ex?
Well, this is a bit of a weird one, because I didn't really date in secondary school. I had one boyfriend when I was 12 who I dated for like 8 months. He was a year older than me because we met at summer camp, and the only place we ever went to was his house, his parents' house, right? And he came to my house once or twice. Other than that, I really did not date anyone until I got to university. And I only dated one person before I got with Rich, and I only dated him for a month anyway. And literally, again, we basically just went to university and his house or my house. So there was no possible way that I could really take Rich on a date to somewhere I've been before, because I didn't really do dates before. To be fair, even our first date was watching the last 3 episodes of Eccleston's Doctor Who. And that was in your bedroom.
Hell yeah.
So
I think the only place I would have taken you and my ex would be Orgasm City. And that's our podcast.
What? No, what is that? Please stop. No. I was going to say something legitimate like the White Hart, but you just went with Orgasm City.
You know that I'm not going to answer that seriously, and I honestly can't think of anywhere specifically. No, actually, no, I do know somewhere.
Don't say Orgasm City again.
I do know somewhere. It's not Orgasm City. It's as much as I could make another joke at that point. No. Those of you who are listening who are from Lincolnshire, my home shire. Woodall Spa, Kinema in the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
I've taken you there.
Uh-huh.
And admittedly, it doesn't really feel the same as like me and my ex going there because we both knew it.
Yeah, you lived there
before.
Whereas for me, it was a great experience because it was in the woods. It's a cute little old style
It's a cute little cinema. It's one of the fewest reverse projected cinema screens still in operation. Mm-hmm. And it's cute as hell.
It is cute as hell.
I have been there 3 times I can remember, and I want to say that I saw something else there when I was younger, but I saw The World's End at midnight there. I saw they did a cinema screening of the War of the Worlds, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds live.
Yeah.
From
Did
an
we
arena.
watch Fantastic Beasts? Is that what we went to see?
We went to go and see Fantastic Beasts there at midnight.
Yeah.
Because
The
Kinema's
first
absolutely
one.
gorgeous. The first one.
Yeah, it is gorgeous. It's kind of like this
It's a
weird,
lovely
like...
little cinema.
Is it like got a almost kind of circusy feel to it, or am I thinking?
It's got a very sort of a stereotypical cinema vibe.
Esque.
But the beauty of it is obviously it's fully independent as far as I'm aware, and it's the pricing is not that bad at all.
No,
it's got 2 screens.
Where it is.
Yeah, it's got 2 screens only, and the main screen is reverse projected. Like I said, every single film has an interval. Like they used to back in the I guess early to mid 20th century when films had intermissions. If you've ever gone back and watched something like, as an example, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, it's back in the news today because Sally Ann Howe has passed away today. Who played Truly Scrumptious in that original film alongside Dick Van Dyke, who I hope lives forever, by the way.
He won't, but sadly.
No, I know, but every film at that cinema has an intermission. And
so you can go pee
during
and get more snacks.
During that intermission, a dude comes out of the stage playing an organ.
Yeah.
Which obviously didn't happen when we went for the midnight showing because
it was midnight.
he was in bed. But every film has an intermission, and the dude plays the organ in the interval, which is pretty cool. Amazing. If you live near Woodall Spa, and you've heard of this, or I'll rephrase that. If you have been to the Kinema in the Woods, get all cute and excited about it in the comments. I mean, you could be in the comments. It's going to be on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube.
Or on Twitter.
Yeah, I forget about that.
Or on Twitter at Kasterpod. And if you've not been to the Kinema in the Woods, it's Kinema, 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 not cinema, Kinema. It's really, really lovely, cute venue, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it's like you go there, they don't do fresh popcorn. You get like the big plastic buckets of like Butterkist, and they don't charge you an arm and a leg for it either.
No.
If I remember rightly, it was very well priced.
When was Fantastic Beasts out? Can you remember? Is this showing how long we've been together now? Because we were still at uni.
2015, 2016? Or was it still at uni? 2016.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Came out in November 2016, so we had graduated.
So we had graduated by then.
I was living at home. It was before I moved to Newcastle.
I must have come up to visit you then.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, that was still 5 years ago.
That was 5 years, over 5 years ago now.
Wow.
So yeah, that's where I've taken you. That I've been a place I've been with my ex, like a very specific place.
Yeah, but other than that,
Kinema in the Woods.
No,
what a lovely little venue.
Have not ever taken Rich somewhere where I've taken an ex. And no, we're not talking about Orgasm Town again. Or Orgasm City or whatever it was you called it.
Orgasm City, baby.
I think it would have been a bit... No, we're not going to go there. Let's just carry
moving
on.
to it. Yeah, let's wrap things up, shall we? I think that might be a good idea. But yes, that has been our random chat about Gridlock. Hope you guys have enjoyed listening to us chat utter rubbish. And if you genuinely do want a lunch, dinner, egg t-shirt, I will get one made. I'll stick it on Teespring, and if you guys decide to pick them up, we'll donate the profits to the Trevor Project or something.
Yes.
And I think that'd be quite cute because it genuinely does. Actually, it surprises me how many people listen to this podcast. Like, obviously
Especially
starting
now
us
that
on
we've
Who
started
Culture,
putting
it
it
was
back
doing
on
relatively
YouTube.
well. And now that now more people are finding it, and I'm seeing the statistics on my YouTube channel and also on Anchor. I'm like, holy crap! I get people messaging me. Like, somebody messaged me yesterday on Instagram asking when the next episode was. I'm like, I'm doing it tomorrow, so it's fine. We're gonna get one out before Christmas. And we really do appreciate it. It's genuinely astonishing that this is doing as well as it is. Like,
Yeah, because I mean, we started it just as kind of like a bit of a, oh, hey, we both like Doctor Who, and every time we'd ever watched an episode of Doctor Who, we always just got talking about it afterwards and kind of thinking,
we sit and talk loads after Doctor Who. So
you know,
it made
I wonder what this is
doing
about,
ups and downs really easy because I could just bounce all these everything we just saw off you. So yeah, that's pretty great. And then
we talked about doing it for ages. And then the opportunity sort of finally arose when you were on Who Culture because it became hashtag content. And then we finally got to do it for ourselves, and it's just a fun little kind of side project that we do. Like, I don't ever sit down and think, oh God, we've got to do the podcast again.
We have no obligation to do it aside from you guys listening to it and enjoying it and getting involved in the conversation on Twitter and also now in the YouTube comments. Like, that's what keeps us driven to do it. And as I've said before, if I don't think you hear any ads at all on these, you shouldn't do, as far as I know, from like Spotify or anything, because there's no revenue coming in for these. I lied. Technically, there will be now on YouTube, but again,
but it's not
why we do it.
It's not really revenue because of the podcast. It's kind of revenue because of your channel as a whole.
But we do this because we like chatting rubbish about Doctor Who, and you guys seem to enjoy it. So if you are fancying getting a T-shirt or something, and we'll donate the proceeds to charity, because why not? We don't need that money. I think it feels, I guess it would feel weird profiting off it. I'm like, let's do something stupid and let's raise money for charity. So if you guys genuinely do want a lunch, dinner, egg shirt, if you don't know what we're on about when we say lunch, dinner, egg, again, go back onto Who Culture and listen to the Boomtown episode of Escaping Kasterborous, because that's where that came from. And for some reason it stuck. Much like Kasterpodians, which I keep forgetting to say.
I like that term.
It's cute. And you guys are wonderful. So, yeah, thank you all so much for listening. If next time it's Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks, we do our two-parters together. Somebody actually did tweet me about when we get to the end of the series as to whether we do a three-parter, because Utopia, The Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords are technically all linked. And I'm thinking, do you know what? Yeah, let's do it
probably, because there's not really much point in doing a single parter than a two-parter. We might as well,
because it is arguably it's kind of like when we get to series 10 again. I'm talking about series 10 that you barely remember.
That's fine.
What were the episodes? Extremist, The Pyramid at the End of the World, and The Lie of the Land, the one with the monks in it.
It amazes me that you remember these things just off the top of your head. Like, literally, folks, there was no cut there, no Googling in the background that he's cut out. He just sits there and goes, oh, genuinely, this, and this. And I'm like, what, how?
With these podcasts, these are about as raw as they get, because a little behind the scenes for you. When I edit these together, I literally sync up Amy and I's audio, do the actual, like, audio tweaks that you would do to what our voiceover files. And then I go through, I cut out any swears that I have, and there is one in this episode I've already marked to cut back and go and get rid of. And then I leave it. That's it. Basically, what you hear is what you get. If I had more time, then you'd probably go through and cut out all of the, oh no, after you. Or,
but I mean, that's the beauty of a podcast, is you get
most of the time it is literally just
involved.
us chatting rubbish live.
I mean, also, if we Google anything, you can quite literally hear us tapping on our keyboards.
You can hear us clicking and tapping away in the background.
I think that makes it raw, it makes it real. Like, I don't want to listen to a heavily doctored podcast unless that's what I'm in there for. I want to listen to people chatting, I want to listen to people Googling stuff.
This is what we do. So, yeah.
Anyway, yes, we probably will do it as a three-parter. I'd
say three-parter. But next week it's going to be next time it's going to be a two-parter for Evolution of the Daleks. No, Daleks About Take Manhattan and evolution of the Daleks. Is it Angels? No, it's Daleks in Manhattan.
Are you okay?
Angels take Manhattan, Daleks in Manhattan.
Are you okay? You broke?
I'm losing my mind.
You broke.
But it's Daleks, which is obviously, as you know, for me, that's always exciting.
Yes.
But that will more than likely be coming after the new year. Because, as said at the beginning of this episode, it is Christmas Eve if you're listening to us on launch day for this episode.
For us recording,
Christmas.
It's Christmas in 3 days.
Yeah, it's the 22nd today. So, yeah, we'll probably get back to you after Eve of the Daleks.
Ooh.
The New Year's special. Ooh, interesting.
Oh, I am not holding out any hope. Woo.
I will see, because his track record with Daleks has been not completely terrible.
Yeah, but it's...
Revolution of the Daleks wasn't amazing. It had some redeeming features, but overall was like, meh. But then it's like Resolution gets more stick than I think it deserves.
Let's
But
talk.
get to that. I will get to that on YouTube eventually.
Let me just
But
quickly
anyway.
summarise and say Flux made me want to shoot myself, and that's as far as we'll go on that front.
We'll get to that. We get to series 13, 10 series
Oh my God,
away, Amy.
we're
On Escaping
literally gonna have
Kasterborous.
to rewatch it. It's gonna kill me.
I've got to rewatch. If I've got to rewatch series 7, you've got to rewatch Flux.
Series 7 was nowhere near as bad as anything Chibnall's ever spewed out.
Series 7 was Moffat.
Yeah, Series 7 was nowhere near as bad as anything that Chibnall's
No,
ever
I know,
spewed
I
out.
know, I
That's
know.
what I'm saying.
I know. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. If you're listening to us before Christmas, have an amazing Christmas.
Enjoy.
If you are able to go home and spend time with your families, if you can't, then I'm sorry to hear that. But
If you can't,
shit
make
happens
the best
eventually.
of it. Enjoy
Yeah.
your Christmas with whoever you're with. If you're on your own, then just do whatever you would do to make
Go
your
back,
day
rewind the
most
podcast to
comfortable.
the beginning, and you can spend Christmas Day with us
Yeah.
again.
So
That's really nice.
I really hope everybody stays safe, stays as
Yep.
well as you can,
Yep.
and enjoys whatever Christmas you have. And yeah.
Or enjoy the holidays overall if you don't do Christmas.
Yes, if you're not Christmas
And
inclined.
also, as said, this will be after the new year, so happy new year as well.
Yeah.
Happy 2022. I hope it's not crap. I hope things go well.
yes.
And as Amy said, I hope you all stay safe, and thank you so much for the warm welcome back to podcasting, for me personally, to YouTubing this year. It has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And neither myself nor Amy can thank you enough.
I'm
for
so
all of
proud
that.
of you. Not the
who, me?
audience, you. Yeah,
Of me?
literally you.
He's such a loser.
Yeah, well, I am.
You need to go find a boyfriend. You're so obsessed with me.
I can't really be bothered. Like, I already live here. Do you know what I mean? It's hassle. It's
Yeah,
convenience at this point.
Well, my little Kasterpodians, thank you so much for listening. And again, have a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful New Year. Find us on Twitter @Kasterpod, or you can put your comments in the comment section below. I should remember to try and remember that we're
Yeah.
doing this on YouTube as they come out as well. Should really remember that. There's a comment section too.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for listening and or looking at the animation from After Effects. It takes bloody ages to render if you're on YouTube. Thank you all so
Rich.
much. Have a what?
Where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter @PickupChangeToe, and on YouTube just search for Rich Hudson.
There you
Where
go.
can they find you, Amy?
You can find me
But you're,
on...
you're taking command of the podcast like
well,
you said you wanted to.
nearly forgot to do it, okay? You can find me on Instagram @Ames_Elizabeth, as most of you have already done.
And of course, @Kasterpod on Twitter. But thank you all so much for listening. Again, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
I thought you were about to wave then. I just saw your arm move. It was like you just stopping your recording, just like, bye, I'm waving at Rich. Bye.